Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Alright, one question I get asked more than anything else as a disc golfer, and this is from beginners to people who rediscover how to play and find new ways to throw and their game's changing. This is the question I get asked more than anything else. What should I throw? What should I put in my bag? What disc is the best for this shot? So hopefully in this little mini-series is going to answer all of those questions. If you are coming over, or if you haven't already seen the previous two, go back and watch episodes 1 and 2, which is putters, both putting and throwing putters, and mid-ranges. And if you've already watched them, continue on. Let's get back to how to build your bag. This episode, I'm going to go over probably what is my most used discs in my bag, and that is the Fairway driver slot. And it's kind of evident because I carry 6 of them. I carry more of this type of disc than any other. So let's get into what you should look for in your fairways. So a lot of people tend to think that fairways encompasses anything from 6-speed to 8-speed, and I'm not in that school of thought. I know that when I pull out a Valkyrie, it says distance driver, but for me, in my game, that's a fairway. So anything for me, speed 9 to 6-ish, 6 to 9 is fairways for myself. So let's get into what I throw, not necessarily what I throw. Let's backtrack off of that. Let's get into what you should throw or put in your bag for your fairways. So I have a couple actually true fairways. This is a TL, T-Bird Long, and a T-Bird 3. And then the rest are speed 9s. But we'll start with Understable. And I'm actually going to, we'll start with your Understable Fairway Drivers. For this slot in my bag, I actually carry the Valkyrie. It's not the most understable. A lot of people throw Roadrunner, Sidewinders. I throw the Valkyrie for this. It fits my hand better, it reacts better, and I've got these that, they do exactly what I want them to. So I'm not going to talk about this one just yet. I'm actually going to save that for the very last episode. So that one's going to get tossed off to the side, and I'll talk about it, next episode. So for your Understable fairway, you're going to want something that does nothing but turn right. This is something you can throw on a good massive amount of hyzer, and it's going to flip up and going to turn. This should be your go-to roller disc, or your go-to, very low power but need distance kind of shot. I use a Sandstrom Star Valkyrie, an old run Valkyrie. It's beat up to where I want it. You're going to want something with a lot of glide for this. So basically, one thing I did kind of leave out, I want to touch on real fast. This is the first section of your bag, the first real section, where you're going to start looking into only having 1 or 2 molds, but having different stages of wear for those. So for my Understable, I have 2 Valkyries, and one's super, super beat up, and I'll get into that when I talk about utility drivers. So this Valkyrie, for me, is my go-to roller disc. I know if I throw this with a little bit of anhyzer on a good full power shot, it's going to turn over and it's going to roll. So that's what I want out of it. Your Understable fairway disc should be very glidey. This right here should be able to float and just go for days. To be able to put up way in the air on a little bit of an anhyzer, and it's going to float and carry that anhyzer for what seems like ever. You can get some massive distance out of these discs if you know how to throw them. So other than just being a roller disc, this should also be a very touch disc, something that you can throw on a 45-degree hyzer and should pop up the flat, maybe lift a little bit to the right, and manage to settle fairly straight and flat and soft. So it should be able to flip up, kind of glide down to the ground, and land either barely turning right, straight, or just barely fading back to the left. This shouldn't have a ton of fade back on the end of it. This is what you're going to use for your shot shaping in the woods, for your rollers, or your massive, not really massive, but your big turnover shots. Then more your neutral and your straight flyers. I carry 2 variants of the T-Bird. I carry the T-Bird Long. It's got a little more glide, a little less fade than your traditional T-Bird, and I carry T-Bird 3, which is a little faster and a little more overstable. So for your neutrals, basically it's going to have just moderate glide and a decent amount of little bit of fade at the end, but for the most part of its flight, it's going to fly straight when released flat or with a touch of hyzer, and then settle back to the left just a little bit. It shouldn't have a huge, hard, you know, cutting fade right back at the end. It shouldn't dive back into the ground. If so, you're using something too overstable, or something with not a lot of glide, or you're throwing it incredibly nose up. You know, one of those three options. So if you're throwing something more overstable, or too overstable, that's the easiest problem to fix, because you can just step it down and, you know, throw something a little flippier, you know, go that route. And, you know, if it's anything else like that, then we need to start working on form. But we'll settle that in a later video. So these discs right here need to be your main in the woods, basically your in the woods distance. So you need to get 350 feet up the fairway while you're in the woods, and you need really, really good accuracy. Don't pull out a destroyer, don't pull out a speed 13, 14, or 11 or 12, anything like that. You know, just control your fairway drivers, and you'll find yourself, you might not find yourself as far up the fairway, but 7 times out of 10, you will find yourself in the fairway, unlike the high-speed driver, which is going to fade out way off into the rough and not leave you with a good upshot. So while throwing a T-Bird might leave me with 100 feet left to the basket, whereas throwing a destroyer might leave me 40 feet from the basket, that 100 feet from the basket is a clear, wide-open jump putt, whereas the destroyer shot might leave me 40 feet inside circle 2, and that might sound all fine and dandy until you look at it and there's about 100,000 trees between you and the basket. So, you know, sometimes distance isn't key, and sometimes playing smart with good placement is. That's where this disc is going to shine. Your neutral to overstable fairway driver, it's going to be a miracle worker in the woods. Then your overstable. I actually used to carry like 4 just of this kind, and I've kind of tailed it back. I'm, you know, testing out some new molds and doing some first flight review stuff, so I'm keeping a few new molds in the bag for a little while just to see how I end up liking them. But you need a good overstable fairway driver, and for new players, this might be something like, you know, like a Viking or Valkyrie, something that, you know, a big power player would turn into a roller. This is something that, you know, very new players might throw and only go left, you know. But as you develop more power, I use the Firebird. I use 2 variations of glow. I use the USDGC Nate Sexton Color Glow, and I use a 2014 Glow Champion. Both have a little bit of dome to them. This is right where I want them. Now, as far as glide on your overstable stuff, you're not going to want as much glide. The same with the putters and the same with the mid-ranges. You're going to want something that's going to get to the ground and not get out of control on you. Now, these discs, something you need to look out for, your overstable fairways and just your overstable drivers in general are going to have a lot more skip. That rim is a little more aggressive, it's beefier, so it's shaped just a little bit different than your flippier ones, and it's going to get a skip, especially when it's hyzering back into the ground at a good angle. It's going to get a good flare skip, so always account for that. These need to be very torque resistant to be able to forehand these, and they need to feel comfortable in the hand for a forehand, because even if you don't forehand a disc, you never, you know, even if you don't forehand regularly, you never know when you're going to find yourself in a position on the course where you're going to have to. And if you have to, and the disc doesn't feel comfortable in the hand when you do it, it's not going to turn out well. So even if you don't do it all the time, this needs to be something that does feel comfortable in the hand. So take that into consideration when picking out your overstable fairway. So kind of a little bit of a recap. You know, you have your 3 basic, you know, styles of fairway driver. You have your understable, you have your neutral to slightly overstable, and then you have your overstable. These are going to get you out of jail a lot. These are going to be whenever you find yourself just barely off fairway and you need something to go and then hook hard one way or another. This is probably what you're going to end up throwing. These, your neutrals, are probably going to be your main distance when you're in the woods and things like that. And then your understable is going to be your more or less a utility, but something that you know, you just need something to slow turn right instead of a forehand that dumps. You need something to slow turn and continually progress forward. That's where your understable is going to turn really good, or rollers, you know, any of those options. So just one more little recap of it. Your understable, you're going to want glidey. Your neutrals are going to be moderate glide, and typically you'll want your overstable just a little less glidey than your moderates, or than your neutral, you know, just regular stable fairway drivers. And if you haven't picked up on the theme yet, there should be 3 main divisions to each section of your bag. So you're going to want, no matter what kind of disc it is, distance, fairway, you know, mid-ranges, or putters, you're going to want a neutral, you know, just a good straight flyer, an overstable, and an understable complement. So, with that being said, that is pretty well what you should have in your bag as far as fairway drivers are concerned. You're going to want, with that setup, and you don't even need 5. You can get away with 3 of these. So with that, you should be able to get away with and be able to pull off any kind of fairway driver shot with just those 3 discs. And if you want a backup, or you want one that's just a little bit beefier for special occasions, or one that's just a little more manageable or something like that, then by all means, it's a free country. You can do what you want. You can put however many discs in your bag that you want. So you can get away with using 3 fairway drivers as long as it encompasses those 3 different categories. So we've come to the end of our third of this 4-part series. I hope you guys are still with me and bearing with me through this. Like I said a couple of videos ago, I just got a new GoPro and some actual video editing software on the computer, and I am struggling to learn that right now. So these are coming out a little slower than what I originally thought they would, but I can deal with that. I'm shooting for quality. I want these to come out great, especially for you guys. So come back for the very last episode, and we will get into the drivers, the show-offs. This is what you brag about whenever you go out with your friends. You know, you don't talk about how many inside the circle putts you can get. You talk about how far you can throw. This last category of disc is going to be what you really want to pay attention to. So we will go over in the next one the distance drivers, and I'll also throw in the utility disc in there as well, because I haven't 100% found a good spot for them, and they're still hanging out, so I'm just going to throw them in with that one. So, like this video, subscribe to the channel, find me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, and, you know, keep checking back to the channel for new videos, and, you know, definitely, you know, like I said, subscribe. I'm putting out more content every chance I get, and the more I'm learning this software to edit, the better it's going to be. So I promise, stick with me, bear with me through this learning period, and I promise things will get better. So, come back for the next episode. Everybody stay safe out there. I'll see you guys on the next one.